And you said ABC is going to take action. What do you expect that action to be?
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, hopefully this journalist will either be suspended or terminated. You cannot go on these unhinged rants against administration officials and the president of the United States. And then clearly he knew he was wrong because he deleted the post as soon as he allegedly woke up this morning.
Well, welcome back to Stars and Gripes, the show where we expose the hypocrisy of the journalist elite in America. And what a show we have for tonight. It is really the dream situation for those activist journalists. President Donald Trump and Elon Musk throwing barbs in what seems to be an increasingly escalating petty feud. And I'm very happy because it gives us plenty of content. Because when the leftist media feels like they have a win, that's actually when they overreach in the most extraordinary of ways. And what you are watching on repeat on every channel in the world is live coverage of these journalists salivating at the petty drama. Now, Gaza, Ukraine, the threat of nuclear escalation with Russia, Chinese submarines circling Taiwan like hungry hawks, none of that matters because the boys we don't like are fighting. And that, at least for those at CNN, is the single most important story in the world right now.
We've been watching President Trump in the Oval Office with the German Chancellor, and a lot to get to here. But the most interesting and perhaps important issue, political issue and policy issue, is what President Trump said about his now former friend, at least it seems, Elon Musk. And I want to go to Elena Treen at the White House. Elena, it seems as though we saw kind of the unraveling of a bromance real time.
Look at that smile. She can't even hide her elation. She is practically euphoric right now. And I get it, it is very funny, but really, who did not see that coming? Now, joining me is the president of the Center of the American Experiment, John Hinderaker. John, what a moment in history you have walked into, a very ferocious feud between two people that, I mean, really, it was never going to last, was it?
Well, this is a sad situation, honestly. It's an embarrassment for the Trump administration and for the whole conservative movement. And I fault Elon Musk. I think his attack on the big, beautiful bill was over the top and politically naive. And the things that he has been saying since, like about Epstein and so on, completely nuts, just crazy. But you're absolutely right. The liberal media loves to have a distraction so they don't have to talk about all the good things and the popular things that the Trump administration is actually doing.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And I mean, when I'm looking at the way that the hosts are covering it and their faces lighting up, it's almost like some journalists want things to go bad for Americans because then they were right all along.
Well, there's no doubt about that. They root for America to fail. They root for our economy to go downhill. They scam the numbers that come out every month on GDP and so forth, hoping that things are going to be going down. They celebrate if there's a dip in the stock market. They loved it when Tesla stock briefly went down significantly, which, by the way, may be about to happen again. But you're right, they root for failure, particularly when we have a Republican president.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. Well, moving on, because as expected, the media has done a little bit of sleight of hand with this story. And just last week, we were told Musk was a drug-addled, mentally ill assault victim with a black eye who had so little credibility, it was basically a crime to have him work in the White House.
It's kind of a rough last day in government for Elon Musk, who showed up to the Oval Office for some kind of send-off with a black eye, just hours after new bombshell reporting on allegations of his voracious drug use. In a lengthy article citing people familiar with his activities, the New York Times reports that Musk's drug consumption went well beyond occasional use. He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder, a known effect of chronic use. I learned that today from the New York Times, didn't know that. He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. The Times adds that while his drug use on the campaign trail was more than occasional, it is unclear whether he was taking drugs when he became a fixture at the White House this year.
The coverage was ferocious, and no one was taking Musk seriously at this point.
This dude is a one-man anti-drug campaign. These are your pants. These are your pants on drugs. And I do love the fact, though, that the detail is he's the one who told him he had a bladder problem. That means things were so bad, he had to be like, oh, don't worry, it's nothing weird. It's just an overabundance of ketamine.
But then this happened.
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. This claim, which CNN cannot confirm, of course, would imply that Trump was in some way name dropped in the case surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, the notorious and convicted pedophile who died by suicide in prison in 2019 while awaiting his federal sex trafficking trial. The accusation from Musk is about as nasty as it gets, accusing somebody of being a pedophile and then covering it up.
So wait, all of a sudden, Musk is a good enough primary and lone source to air the allegation about pedophilia and covering it up. They have no standards, and there is no logic at all behind what they choose to air and what they choose to bury, other than does it help their political goals?